Oh, wait a minute. Ogrot. You know, I came down to this corner of the crypt where I haven't been maybe ever before, and I find you here. You know, I was looking for the reasoning behind why the electric bill was so high. And now I find you down here, plugged into this contraption. Is this where you've been for like the last 14 months?
Yes, Gauntly. This is where I've been. I found the newest, greatest source of thrills, the greatest source of entertainment and power. There's no more rust, no more organic matter, no more bone marrow, no more bodies. There is only the truth and source of all power and life, electricity.
Electricity, huh?
Here we go. One more. Oh, that's the stuff.
Oh, what does it feel like?
You gotta try this. Come on, strap yourself
Oh man,
in.
you know,
gotta try it. Come
that
on,
just might do the trick because
here we go.
the guys at home know it's Halloween. This is our big season. And, you know, appearances to the contrary, I don't know that I'm necessarily feeling it. I need something to boost my spirit. Have some candy.
That's the stuff.
And strap me in.
All right, here we go.
You know, sometimes after 7 years, I just feel like I'm kind of going through the motions.
Yeah, we all get that way.
I need
Time is brutal.
some
Always
juice.
marching forward. Go ahead. All right, you ready?
Oh, let me
Strap yourself
let
in
me
and
get
put
my.
that on your head. Yeah, you got
Yep,
the
there we
brain
are.
thing. There you go.
Okay.
Ready?
Oh, here, wait a second. Okay. All right, there we are. There we are. Are the legs good?
All right,
Okay.
ready? On the count of 3. 1. All right. Here's that.
What's going on? This looks like some kind of weird experimental college film or a bad soap opera. What's up?
Would you like some,
What?
to find inspiration, you must go to a place in your past.
Ooh, Gauntly, you there?
Oh my
You
gosh.
with me? Good.
Yes,
How good was that?
that was good. Oh, it was a transcendental experience. Nothing that I've ever felt was like that. You know, it was a little weird, it was a little experimental, but it opened my mind, and now I know where I need to go.
Go. We're going
Yes.
somewhere?
Yes, well, I at least am going somewhere. You know, for the annual Gauntly Halloween trip, I do some soul searching out in the hinterlands, and I know specifically the destination I need to be bound for. So, here, yes, a little hand here. There we are.
I'll stick with the electricity myself.
Hey, you know,
Out of the chair.
we all have things that give us our kicks, and I am headed off. You pass me my lid there.
Of course.
Thank you. I am off to the Pacific Northwest, where all sorts of things happen on the weird frontier of the contiguous 48. Happy Halloween from Count Gauntly's. Join me on my journey. Yes, for Halloween number 7, Gauntly has traveled to the Pacific Northwest. We're standing right now on Long Beach in Washington State, where way back in the pre-Gauntly past, a young man would vacation with his family every summer. And it's fairly remote. You'll see there's some signs. Oh, tide's coming in. But yes, it's fairly remote. There's a little bit to see and do, but in some ways you make your own fun. You make card games, or you read books about Bigfoot and other cryptids and mysterious legends and places in the surrounding area. And so for our annual travelogue, I've tried to recapture that experience for you, the viewer, of a summer here on Long Beach, as you look for the mystery that just might be out there in this last American frontier. Well, you know, before Alaska and all of that, but I didn't quite have the wherewithal to get up there. Maybe next year. But let's see now what Washington State and Oregon and Northern California have to offer in the realms of the mysterious, the horrifying, and the frankly quite beautiful. Come along now. This monument marks the furthest west point reached by the Corps of Discovery expedition between 1803 and 1805, made by our buddies here, Lewis and Clark. Now, when I was a kiddo, we were in the middle of the bicentennial, and so a lot of markers were put in around that time. And it just goes to show that this area has been renowned and beloved by American explorers since the very beginning of American exploration even being a concept. They stood on this shore and they looked out to the ocean and they wondered, what next? Just like Gauntly. Behind me is the reason that Long Beach had to be stop number 1 on Gauntly World Tour number 7. That's because it's Marsh's Free Museum, home to curios and weird taxidermy and a particular cryptid creation that is, without a doubt, the biggest tourist draw in all of Long Beach. I came to see it every year as a kid. I still don't know if I believe it, but it is a desiccated man-fish fellow known as Jake the Alligator Man. Marsh's features taxidermy freaks, odd automatons, love testers, weird seashells, lots of t-shirts for sale, old coin-operated organs, and lots of strange cryptid creations made by taxidermy odds and ends all whipped together. And it is absolutely Gauntly style and has been since my earliest days. So let's go take a look. And of course, a visit to this part of the country would not be complete without running into the region's most famous resident, the Sasquatch. We'll hear more about him in a little while, but this one was particularly eye-catching. He is an example of what I strive to be, and sharing him with you is an example of what I strive to do. So let's wander inside Marsh's Free Museum and see if what's on the inside is as captivating as what's on the outside. You walk in the door, and they've got a real human skeleton front and center. They know what Gauntly likes and what Gauntly wants to see. And so I give this establishment 5 stars. They say people come and they never leave. They're dying to get in. Now they say 2 heads are better than 1. And if you're trying to become a tourist attraction, that's demonstrably true. Hey man, what's new? Some people tell me I should see a head shrinker. Now maybe this guy could tell me where to look. Here at Marsh's, they've got a lot of these old coin-op machines, and they possess the wisdom of the ages. So I'm sitting here on this giant heart-shaped love tester to see what I already know, which is that I have a very passionate heart, a burning soul of a romantic poet. But now it's going to be official, and the world's going to know. So I'm gonna pop my coin in here.
Thank you. The plan of love will now evaluate your passion factor.
Whoa! Fingers crossed.
Teaser. That's not very nice.
I'll take it. Now we have here a large mechanized orchestra. Pretty classy. Now let's see it in action. And of course, I had to come pay my respects to the man that started me on my journey, for imparting my appreciation of the strange, the horrifying, and the poorly and cheaply produced. It's Jake the Alligator Man, star attraction of Marsh's Free Museum. He's been featured in the Weekly World News, and now he can grace your home on all manner of collectible trinkets, cutting boards, hoodies, bottle openers, posters, postcards, and oh so much more. Now, one final thing that blows my mind is that they always have a lot of the taxidermy for sale. And for about 20 years, it's been my dream to one day walk in and walk out with this lion back here. On a public access horror host's salary, that dream is not exactly forthcoming to fruition, but someday I'll be back. And he'll be waiting. But more things lie on the horizon. Our journey continues somewhere over there. Here we see a very large frying pan. When I was a kid, it was known as the world's largest frying pan, and that moniker was written on it at the time. Then I believe at one point it was surpassed, and it became the world's second biggest frying pan. And now it no longer bears that descriptor either. I guess it just goes to show that somebody younger always comes along to take your place. But, we gotta set that good example for the newcomers to strive for. I salute you, giant frying pan. And what do we have here? Looks like a screen-accurate recreation of the iconic Mystery Machine van. Perfect for our magical mystery tour we've embarked on here. Like zoinks! Stop number 2. I'm now entering the town of Twin Peaks. This rather unassuming corner of road was once home to the Twin Peaks welcome sign with the population of approximately 51,000. It was given a permanent home in 2017, but apparently was almost immediately stolen and never replaced. But Gauntly has tracked the spot down for use in our most excellent opening credit sequence this episode. Now I'm going to take you on a journey to visit some of the locations used in David Lynch's surreal soap opera series. Behind me is Snoqualmie Falls, featured prominently in the intro to Twin Peaks. The hotel above is the Salish Lodge, which was much, much too expensive for Gauntly to stay there tonight. It plays the part of the Great Northern in the show. It's where Agent Cooper stays, and they have some damn fine coffee, I hear. I'm standing outside the Tweeds Cafe, known in Twin Peaks as the Double R Diner. I'm gonna go inside and get a piece of cherry pie. Okay, well, got my cup of coffee, I got my cherry pie, and that rounds out stop 2 of Gauntly's Pacific Northwest road trip here in Twin Peaks. That's pretty good. And then I got coffee black as a moonless night right here. Cheers. I've crossed the Columbia River now. I'm into Oregon. And so far on our trip, we've been lucky with the weather. But right now, it's a little more representative of what you can usually expect in the Pacific Northwest. It's pretty dreary and rainy, and it's a little bit creepy, which is perfect because for our next stop, we are pulling into St. Helens, Oregon, the filming site of the series of Disney Channel original movies, Halloween Town. And when Gauntly looks up points of interest and he sees Halloween Town as a bullet point on the map, he's got to add it to the itinerary for his Halloween excursion. I'm standing in front of the historic courthouse in St. Helens, Oregon, which was the pivotal landmark featured in the Halloween Town series. You can see it back there. It looks fairly historic, as the plaque says. And it's got a touch of that Gothic aesthetic. Architecture majors, don't harass me if that's a complete falsehood, but it looks Halloween-y. You know what I mean. It's like obscenity, you know it when you see it. And every year in October they have a whole series of Halloween events. Apparently the whole town transforms and they go all out to celebrate their role in the films. But of course this is Gauntly, and we film in September. So we got to find the Halloween stuff where we can. But don't worry, I think I've spotted a few things you'll want to see. Well, I wanted Halloween, so I came to Halloween Town, and guess what? I found Halloween. Yeah, you know, Gauntly found the one year-long haunted house in town. It's not open right now. We're here pretty early in the morning as we roll through on our adventure. But I just wanted you to know that Halloween Town is not lacking in the spirit. And it might feel like a cop-out that I'm not going inside, but trust me, there's another haunted house in our future that I think is going to prove just a little more spectacular. So I stopped in here at Portland, Oregon to grab a bite to eat at this brandless hamburger establishment behind me. Same one we stopped at during our Salem excursion. And what's drawn me to Portland is they have this unofficial city slogan, "Keep Portland Weird." Now, it's known to be a bastion of oddness, and I've stopped in looking for odd things. And, you know, I'm looking around, haven't seen anything weird yet, but, hey, wait a second, what was that? What was that? Sir, there's a familiar face.
Whoa, Gauntly! What are you doing here? Oh my goodness!
So I know that Gauntly likes hamburgers, but I didn't know that Freak Slice likes hamburgers. What have you got there?
Well, Gauntly, this inclusive burger restaurant decided it was finally time to give us vegetarians a shot. So this is the impossibly amazing sandwich, and I'm gonna try it right now.
Yes, indeed, it's a wonderful restaurant, and carnivores and vegivores can enjoy it together.
It reminds me of our visit to Salem with Ogrot.
That's right, it's a
Oh,
throwback.
those were fine days.
And they live on. The journey continues.
It continues forever.
So, Freak Slice, I've been traveling down the West Coast to check out the paranormal attractions,
That's right.
get in the Halloween spirit. So, when you travel, what drives you? What's the reason behind the travel?
Well, travel is pretty easy for me given the fact that I can basically jump through time and space whenever I really feel like it. But I appreciate the journey more so than the destination. So, I'm driving a car right now, for instance. It's really about the people you meet and the things you see along the way, not so much. Well, I mean, destinations are pretty cool too, but that's what I travel for. I travel to grow, you know? To grow.
I agree. Find yourself along the way. Whatever you happen to be looking for when you set out, yourself is always there. And it's a time of growth. It is a time of expansion and getting to know people to share that journey.
Yes. And it's also Halloween. Ooh.
Happy Halloween, guys. The journey continues. Okay, guys, room tour. So I am staying at the Motel Trees. I probably should have brought Freak Slice along. But it's a little inn right on the property of the Trees of Mystery. I am staying in the ocean room. Each room is themed. You see, I've got some glass water floats up there. A castaway hat. One of the light bulbs is burned out, so, 95 out of 100 for that, but you even got a microwave and a fridge. Little nook there where you can stand and make your coffee. And then check this out. Wow, the toilet's sealed shut to show you that they sealed it up after anybody else used it. So that's all fresh for me. You see, nice tiles, everything's clean, looks like. And then, check this out. They got like river stones here in this big walk-in shower. Zero horizon there, there's no bar to entry. Actually, I wonder how you're supposed to close this. I guess it's just open to the air. Nice. Even the ceiling is pretty fancy. Look up here. It's like we're in a cabin. The drive here was long and winding, and we're out in the sticks, but it's super quiet. I'm probably making too much noise as it is. But it's beautiful. And tomorrow you are going to see some very big trees. Got a lumberjack's breakfast here for me before I head into Trees of Mystery. There's a small rubber duck encased in the resin around this dining table. I don't know what it means, but I guess that's all part of the mystery here at Trees of Mystery. I've traveled here to the Trees of Mystery, one of the most iconic and eye-catching landmarks in the Pacific Northwest. And behind me is a fellow you might recognize. Yes, it's a giant 49-foot tall statue of Paul Bunyan. And if we are patient, we might hear him say something. We'll have to see.
Welcome down there. Glad you made it safely. Well, little by little, sunshine spreading across the courtyard and the parking lot. Yes, we are all in for another beautiful day here at the Trees of Mystery.
Gauntly came here as a small boy, and it's another stop on this trail we're on that I just couldn't leave you out of the loop on. You had to come here and see Babe and Paul and the Trees of Mystery that we'll be exploring in just a moment.
You have a blog or something that you do?
No, I have a public access TV show out on the East Coast.
On the East Coast, on the right coast.
That's right. Well, we got the right coast. You guys
Public
got the best
access, you
coast.
say, huh?
So it's called Count Gauntly's Horrors from the Public Domain.
What's that again?
Count Gauntly's Horrors from the Public Domain.
Count?
Gauntly.
I'm sorry, you're blending in with the freeway traffic.
Yes, there's some traffic. Your ears are way up there.
Yeah, my ears are 45 feet off the ground.
That's right. So the name is Count Gauntly. G-A-U...
Gauntly?
Gauntly, yes. G-A-U-N-T-L-Y. We show old horror and sci-fi movies.
Oh, great. Like Well, that's like what Elvira does.
That's right. I don't have quite the same assets as Elvira, but I try to get by. And we do annual travel episodes in September because we tape a month ahead.
That's great.
Well, thank you very much.
That's fantastic. Count Gauntly. That's sweet top hat. And a welcome, Count Gauntly, to the Trees of Mystery.
Trees of Mystery features a variety of strange growths, such as this elephant tree with this pronounced proboscis. The presence of the Sasquatch is felt throughout the Pacific Northwest. You'll see he's here at Trees of Mystery as well, and it's not the last we'll be seeing of him today. This place has a breathtaking beauty that speaks for itself. Here among these primordial giants, you feel the age of the universe. Behind me is the octopus tree, so named for these tentacle-like roots reaching down with an opening underneath marked Nature's Underpass. Well, it's not quite the tree you can drive through, but I wanted some FaceTime with you guys while I passed under an enormous tree. And so, let's see, so I don't hit my head, I'll take my hat off. And let's see if we can get under here. There we are. It is not a whole lot of clearance under here. If we're being honest, I think it's for younger folks than I. But I want to keep the experience fresh. Keep the inner child alive. There's a big mushroom thing over here. It just shows that it is all alive. The universe is full of life. And what better place to experience its beauty than here among the enormous California redwoods. All right, we're almost at the other side here. There we go. And we're through.
Here you may see one of the most interesting, unusual, and remarkable creations of nature to be found any place in the entire world. Here before you is a true record of past centuries, and this fallen redwood is still sound after 3,000 years. It is 320 feet long. All of the trees you see growing over it are actually grafted together by nature, either through their trunks or root structures. The life in one tree is really the life in all of these trees.
They're in the process of putting up a ropes course. And by the time this airs on TV, it's probably gonna be open. You see they've got platforms up there. They're gonna have walkways and zip lines, which I can only assume in a place with trees this tall is going to be extremely awesome. Now, just so you get a sense of the scale of these trees, there's a worker up there hanging a ropes course. Can you see him? I tell you, it is not easy to frame a redwood tree. They are not conducive to widescreen televisions at all. They are, in fact, very vertically inclined. But behind me is the cathedral tree. You'll see it's got several prongs coming up in a archway, and weddings are commonly held there in the crux of the tree down at the bottom. And I'll try to get you another viewpoint of that, but I thought I would frame it up here on this ledge so that you could see me, you could see the tree, and we could have our little chat. I'm standing here at the center of the cathedral tree, where weddings are commonly held. Now, I personally have my venue picked out, and the missus will just have to come to terms with that, because at the Luray Caverns in Virginia, you see they play the geological formations in the manner of a giant organ. It's called the Great Stalacpipe Organ. And as far as I know, nowhere else offers that service. So the earth itself is going to ring when I get married. Date to be determined. Have to find a willing participant, but it's going to be big, and you're all going to be invited. So keep your calendars open. But for now, let's appreciate the beauty of the cathedral tree. Sitting here among the trees, I have a chance for reflection, which is really what this whole trip was about. We're going to cap things off tomorrow night with an extreme finale, if you will. There's going to be a bit more excitement and drama, perhaps, at that moment. But the true motivating force behind this journey was to find myself. It is perhaps less Halloween-y than trips in the past, but it's all the more meaningful because over this week, I've taken time to evaluate my own personal journey thus far, from the time that I first visited these trees as a 7-year-old to the time I became a 27-year-old and even a hair older than that. I first visited these trees 22 years ago, and they've grown a little in that time. I've grown a lot, but it's good to reconnect with my roots. Now, when I said I was going to chronicle my trip to the redwoods, you were probably expecting to see some big trees. Well, in just a second here, you're going to see pretty much the biggest tree that's out here. So, just wanted to prepare you for that. I'm standing next to the 19-foot wide Brotherhood tree. It is very thick, and it's very tall. And that's what we come to see when we visit the California redwoods. So, get ready to take a gander. I said before that it's hard to frame these things in any way that does them justice. Well, here at the Brotherhood tree that's most demonstrably true, because it's 19 feet wide, it's 300 feet tall, and I am a little tiny bug here next to it. Trees of Mystery. It demonstrates the power, the might, and the majesty of these great living things. Now, a secondary, but by no means negligible, contributing factor to my decision to take this trip this year was a TV series known as Gravity Falls. Now, it's a recent animated series, but it seems to draw a lot from my experiences of this area growing up and visiting on summer vacation. Now, if you've watched Gravity Falls, you're familiar with not only Trees of Mystery and the giant Paul Bunyan statue, but also the next attraction we'll be visiting here, which is the Sky Trail. We are going to take an aerial trip through the trees to get up close and personal in the canopy. Alright, well, here's the part that I'm sure you've all been waiting for, in which Count Gauntly takes the rapid-paced excursion on this lightning-fast means of travel, the Sky Trail. Actually, we're picking up a bit of speed there. Now, there's a lot to see here. I'm going to try to spare you too much sun. It is a bright morning. But there are giant trees to be seen all around, so perhaps it's best for me to let the majesty speak for itself. Ooh, we're pausing here for a moment. Somebody's probably getting on. But this is kind of like a ski lift writ large. Notice how silent it is. I noticed that in my hotel room last night. We're very far away from anywhere. A bit surprising for California, I would say. But there were miles and miles of winding road where it was just single lanes, redwood trees all around, and I was going through at night, so it was pitch dark. These trees are truly the rulers here. Man is but a visitor. I've tried to favor destinations on this trip that are conducive to taking video. And so far, I think I've hit the jackpot. We haven't really had any face-to-face interviews yet, but we have had some one-on-one time with Paul Bunyan. We've had a face-to-face meetup with Jake the Alligator Man. And now we are here in the tops of the California redwoods. Gauntly takes you everywhere he goes. I always strive to go that extra mile, whether that be east, west, north, south, or straight up. Here we are at the end of the Sky Trail. Taking our journey, as you see back there, up through the trees to the canopy layer here. And here I am about to disembark. Whoa! Ha! There it goes. And here I go back in the foots of the Sasquatch. Now from this angle it seems much more dramatic. Now on my way here I told you there were some treacherous roads. Klamath, California is perched right on the west coast of the United States. And as you can see out there, that's the Pacific Ocean. I was driving literally along the sides of cliffs on my way to this stop off here. But it is beautiful. Well, here we are on the top of the world. The edge of the continent, the tops of the trees. Gauntly aims to take you to the extremes. Nowhere else can you get this experience on the public access budget. I strive to give you all I can here on FPA Channel 10 or wherever you happen to be watching this. You know, it cost me $20 to get in, but it would cost the Discovery Channel a lot more. So this is new. They've added this extreme trail for #real hikers only. It does say proper footwear is required. I guess next time I'll have to come back with my hiking boots. I would blaze the trail anyway, but Paul was nice enough to talk to us one-on-one, so I'd really prefer to stay in the good graces of Trees of Mystery just in case. But know that there is always more to see around the next bend. Oh yeah, downhill's a little faster. We're zooming now. I'll try to put on a Trees of Mystery voice. Did you know there are 3 types of redwoods? Sequoia sempervirens, coast redwood. North California Sequoia giganteum, big tree. Sierra Nevadas, Metasequoia, or the Dawn redwood. Found in China in 1944. The oldest of the 3. Here we have a chronicle of Paul Bunyan's life. When he chopped trees even as a baby. There he is reading enormous books, spearing whales. Now, to get a little bit of horror into our lives, which is not something Gauntly is always the best about administering. These are all carved with chainsaws, so there's a little bit of Halloween horror. This one also is pretty creepy. That doesn't seem quite anatomically correct. I don't think that's a pose a healthy man can strike. All right, this is something I've been looking for. It's a tree with all the rings marked, 1 ring for each year. And this is a big tree, okay? It's very broad, but it's got events marked on the tree. From way back in the center, when the Crusades were going on. Got the signing of the Magna Carta in 1215. Columbus sailing the ocean blue in 1492. Plymouth Rock. The Declaration of Independence. And so on and so forth. And here's the record for us today. And now you'll see we're back where we started. That's the Sasquatch behind me, the life-size one. And I'd say it's been a successful trip to Trees of Mystery. We went from the bottom to the top, and now we're here. Let's check out the gift shop. Nice. Now this is the kind of souvenir Gauntly would like to see more of. Here's junior axe throwing for when you want your child to throw bladed weapons. And so we bid farewell to the Trees of Mystery with one last pass by our giant friend here. Bye, Paul.
Well, did you enjoy yourself, Count?
I did. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. You make sure when you get back home you tell old Ogrot and the crypt crew hello from Paul Bunyan.
Will do. Thanks for doing your research.
Drive safe.
I just checked in here at the Bigfoot Motel here in Willow Creek, California. Close by to the site where the classic Patterson-Gimlin film was recorded back in 1967. Now this is sort of a Bigfoot hotspot, as you'll soon see. I promised we would be delivering lots of Bigfoot content on this trip, and now here is where we reach Bigfoot Central. The densest Bigfoot material is going to hit you right now as we explore Willow Creek. Well, fancy meeting you here in Willow Creek, your favorite stomping grounds, Bigfoot. Yes, indeed. I've journeyed to Willow Creek, California. This is known as the Bigfoot. You'll notice he has a little bit of a mop top up there, some crazy bangs. And as we will see, there are a lot of interpretations of the ape man. You know, some a little taller, some a little shorter, all very hairy, muscular, bipedal, and some say kind of smelly. But as we all know, he's out there for those who truly seek. I'm standing now in the Bigfoot room of the Willow Creek Bigfoot Museum. There's a more official name to it than that, but that's what we're going to call it here. And the proprietors have been very kind. Admission is complimentary, so I'm not technically advertising anybody. They were also pretty nice to me over at the Bigfoot Motel, so once again, Gauntly has found a welcoming place. So far, 7 years of travel, the only place they've harassed us was at the Roswell community office. They said we needed a permit. We didn't get a permit, but we powered on all the same. Behind me is a blown up copy of the most iconic frame of the Patterson-Gimlin film. You see a female Sasquatch facing back towards the camera as she loped away from the filmmaker. And thus a legend was born that endures to this day. People still come to this very spot to search for Bigfoot in this area. This was actually shot at Bluff Creek, which is about 50 miles north of Willow Creek. And we will see if Gauntly makes that excursion this time around. It is dense wilderness. There is, surprise, surprise, a creek you can follow to reach the spot. But I think even Gauntly would need a little bit more preparation before tackling something like that. I'll check my GPS, I will see. But even so, Willow Creek is a go-to spot for Bigfoot lovers. In 2013, Bobcat Goldthwait even directed a found footage horror film titled Willow Creek that showcased this area and many of its landmarks. But we're going to make the loop again because we all know, who saw that movie? Everybody watches Gauntly for their supernatural news. Now, I guess time will tell if we had enough footage to fill the hour, but if not, this is the primary public access film featuring Bigfoot as its star. It's sort of a mockumentary thing from the 1970s. There we go, 1972. And perhaps most importantly, we haven't showed it yet on Gauntly, so now seems like the perfect time. But they're going to be showing it as sort of a Halloween event right nearby in Eureka, California. So here you see a Gauntly foot next to a Bigfoot foot. It's pretty big, you know? You know what they say about big feet? You need some big shoes. So I stopped in at the Early Bird Cafe, where they have something called the Bigfoot Burger. Now it's certainly big. I mean, there's my hand comparison. It's pretty large. And it's meant to have sort of a foot shape with some toes at the end here. There is perhaps some evidence of toes. 1, 2, 3. But I don't know. We'll see if the taste is more impressive than the likeness of a foot. So, as an update, it is delicious. It's very large. It's supposed to be 2/3 of a pound. I'm almost to that second patty. Just like in Roswell, where there were aliens everywhere, here in Willow Creek, they've got Bigfoots everywhere. Like right here by the gas station, Bigfoots. I'm getting flashbacks. Here we see a pretty impressive mural of big feet toiling alongside the Native Americans. And actually, in most of the cases, it looks like it's the Bigfoot doing all the work. This arrangement doesn't really seem to be working out too well for the Sasquatches. It's a hard life for the agrarian Sasquatch.
I've been running this bookstore here since 2005 and moved here to Willow Creek in 2001. And ever since then, I've sort of slowly been drawn into the Bigfoot legend, you know. When I first started here, I didn't have any books on Bigfoot at all. I named it Bigfoot Books just for the, you know, the kind of local color lark of it. But this store was just a general used bookstore, but somehow calling it Bigfoot Books, it slowly drew in more and more people, you know, and the next thing I knew, the Finding Bigfoot guys were here, you know, because I know Bobo and Cliff and Matt, who were on that show. And when it was shown on Finding Bigfoot, I started getting people from like Switzerland, Ireland, you know, coming all across the planet to see Willow Creek. And, you know, during that time, I was sort of becoming a Bigfoot researcher, like as a byproduct of local history interests, you know, the development of the Bigfoot legend here in this town became more and more interesting to me. The more popular Bigfoot got, it just got more and more attention. But we were just trying to find out some facts in the whole thing. Like, was it all just a hoax? You know, was it something planned by the Chamber of Commerce? Was it a joke that the local, you know, country folk were playing on urban Bigfoot researchers and media people, you know, authors? Was it the natives pulling the wool over the eyes of the European settlers? You know, that I've heard many people say that. But if you talk to people here locally, there are sightings and there are many versions of local culture that deal with it, including the ancient ones that are in the various native tribes that we have in this area. They all have their own version of Bigfoot, their own names for it. So that was all here before, you know, Roger Patterson got his film, or before the 1958 tracks got into the newspapers. You know, so as I lived here, just trying to work and have my ordinary life, I became more and more, like I said, caught up in the Bigfoot world. So we we were studying the film site location and trying to find the exact place where the film was shot, because we realized in 2003 that no one really knew where it was. You know, it was supposed to be the most famous place in Bigfoot history, and no one could find it, including the most expert people. You know, they all had different locations. And the old timers who had been there back in the 50s and 60s, or the 60s and 70s, couldn't find it either. It had grown over completely with new growth. You know, that film was shot on a sandbar that you can see here in this photo. I mean, it's a sand and gravel bar. This was all cleared out in 1964 with a big flood that occurred then. That flood just scoured out the whole creek bed all the way down. So it was an ideal place to kind of catch a film of a Bigfoot, whereas otherwise it would ordinarily be the overgrown forest that it is today. But we spent 3 years trying to find that film site, and we eventually did find it and surveyed and documented that. So that just made us more famous in the Bigfoot world. You know, and me and my group, the Bluff Creek Project, we still continue, but it's sort of a more humble camera study that we do. We have trail cameras all throughout the area, including right there on the film site. So we were sort of intrigued by the concept of testing the hypothesis, you know. If Bigfoot is so famously said to be here, why can't we just put up a camera and catch one, right? But we haven't gotten anything yet since 2012, so 7 years now by the end of this season. No Bigfoots, but we have gotten just about every other very interesting aspect of wildlife up there. You know, including mountain lions raising families, you know, endless bears, the endangered Humboldt marten, which is a species that was thought to be extinct at one time, but now they know that there are about 100 of them left in California. So we've, in the course of studying or looking for Bigfoot, so to speak, you know, we've actually found something real. These real animals, you know, including ones that are supposedly more rare than Bigfoot is, and the film site and other things like that. So we're not really legend hunters or, you know, mystery mongers. We're actually trying to find the real world and what's in it. So, you know, hopefully Bigfoot, it would be great if Bigfoot were real. But I don't know about that yet. Never seen anything that would be absolutely convincing, you know. Although I've had some strange experiences in the woods over the years, including in my house, which is back here on the dead end of a dirt road up on the top of this hill over here. Gets stuff going on there every night, but, you know, whether it's a Bigfoot out there in the yard, find it kind of dubious. There's plenty of other animals and other causes that could account for it, but you know, it's always fun to live with a mystery, one that might actually be real. You know, I do kind of know by now what people want to hear, the basic. You know, you want to say certain things just because they're trying to make a movie or trying to do a show, and you kind of have to introduce the topic in a certain way so that people will know what you're talking about. I mean, how many people know that Willow Creek is right next door to Bluff Creek, and that Bluff Creek was where that film was shot? And, you know, that we can go up to that film site and walk around right on the path of the Bigfoot, you know. Not many people really know this area. It's kind of a lost world, as it were. Humboldt County in general is pretty out there, but to go up the 96 past Hoopa, you know, past the Indian reservations into the Klamath Mountains there, you're right on the edge of the Siskiyou Wilderness. So you can follow that wilderness all throughout that region, you know, over to the Marble Mountains, the Trinity Alps wilderness, up into Oregon, the Kalmiopsis. There's all kinds of habitat for a species like a Bigfoot is said to be. But there's a lot of other mysteries around here too. You know, the claims of Bigfoot are just one of the species of animal or monster or spirit that is said to be around here. We have giant salamanders, you know, mermaid creatures, river serpents, or maybe a Loch Ness monster kind of thing in the river, supposedly. What else is there? Little people, there's a good one. You know, some people describe them as being like little Bigfoots, but other people describe them more in the pixie way. There's a classic story you hear around here sometimes of a local native woman who found inside of a flower tiny little shoes. Wow. Like, I don't know where they could have come from, but her thought was that it was from one of the little sprites, you know, the little people. So I mean, just like over in Europe, they have that here too, in the native culture. And there's a lot of other things too. UFOs, big deal here. You know, we had a UFO sighting right through the river canyon behind you here. It flew over the hill right over here. But I mean, I didn't see that. That was a historical one from the late 70s. Get a lot of reports like that. From here to the bottom of Bluff Creek is 30 miles up the Highway 96. There's some windy, crazy road in between here and there. And if you want to go up to the film site, you need to go up the road about 8 more miles. And then you'll come near a town called Orleans. And that's the only town out there in the middle of nowhere. You follow the road right before town, another 17 miles back into the western side of the river. And up there on the ridge, you'll come to a pull-off. And if you cut off there at the 17-mile marker, you'll be able to look down into the top of the headwaters of Bluff Creek. And when you're up there, you can see the farthest distance you can see down the creek is where the film site is. It's actually behind the mountain there, but you can see right before where the film site is. And I think most people, when they get up there and they see this area, they'll have a chance to maybe change their mind about the assumption of Bigfoot is not real, that Bigfoot couldn't be real, you know, that it's all a hoax and a joke. And I dare those people, especially if they're not outdoorsmen or whatever, to just come up here and get off the road and go look. And you know, not just from the highway or the road, but go down into it and walk around, and you'll start to maybe get a taste of the flavor of the area that caused people to think about Bigfoot being there in the first place. You know, when you're in that kind of forest, it all looks the same after a while. You know, like when I showed you in that photo, when you have a scoured out landscape, you can see the things that are actually there on the land. But when we went up there looking, all that stuff, all those log piles, all the stumps that are there in the ground that might still have been there, the big trees in the back, all of it was hidden. You know, down on the ground, it was hidden by vines and debris and you know, trees and branches that had fallen over, and moss and ferns. So we couldn't see that stuff till we pulled away all the junk and started looking, and trimmed out some of the dead branches so you could actually look and walk through that area. But we went to all the different sites that the people claimed, you know, the various expert people, and you know, we had to test them out to do them justice. We had to see, you know, of all the things that we knew about the film site area and the history of it, how much of it matched, how much of it was plausible to fit what we see in the film and what we also hear in the history of it. And so just by those kind of factors, we were able to rule out every single one of the other film sites except the one that we kind of had known about from the start. It was the one that most people who were in the know kind of pointed towards. You know, there's a general small area there, and within that small area there were like 4 different proposition sites. So even then, even if we were in this area of general consensus, we still had to find the artifacts. You know, so we went and looked back behind all those bushes and shrubs and crazy piles of debris. We eventually found a few trees that looked really good. You know, the when you see that Bigfoot film, you can see in the back there's a big, huge fir tree, and then there's some red colored leaves and some yellow colored leaves, and those are the maples, you know, the vine maples and the big leaf maples. So we knew we had to find those and these other 2 big fir trees that are seen behind the creature in the film. And then we found the one big tree, and then, you know, looking next to it, sure enough, we found there was a maple tree growing there. Only, of course, it was much younger in the film in 1967 than it was in 2011 when we found it again. But it had the same crook bend, like a bend in the trunk, and that was still there. It kept growing with that same crook in the trunk, you know, that you can see in the film, and you can also see current day. But I mean, even like a dead fir snag that was very characteristically leaning sideways and pointed at the top, present and visible in almost all the old film site photos, was sitting right there. I mean, you would never expect it. It's not even a giant tree. It's just a regular young fir tree that happened to grow out of the sandbar and probably was killed by that flood. And then top of it broke off. So it's very distinct. You can see it if you look at those film site photos. You can see that angled tree trunk going up. And we found it. It was in the same spot where it needed to be, and it was broken off a little more at the top, but it was still there. And, you know, at that point we realized all these things were still there. You wouldn't expect after almost 50 years for a pile of wood to still be there, but this is like a lot of it is old growth wood stumps, you know, very dense, very rugged wood, and it also was sitting on a sandbar, so it didn't rot and mulch away like you might expect it to in other characteristic areas. You know, this was actually preserved like a time capsule because the creek never washed over it. It went around it, you know, because of the rocky topography and geology of the area. You know, the creek never flooded over the site, so it was just preserved there as best as you can in nature, you know, for 40 something 50 years. Still there today. It looks very similar once you know what to look for. It's just something that really bothered me, like, why don't we know where that is? You know, it'd be kind of like, you know, living in New York and not being able to find the Empire State Building, you know? I think, you know, people want mystery in their lives. They want something fascinating that goes beyond the humdrum, normal, boring reality, where increasingly everything's just sort of handed to you, already processed, already packaged and put on a website or whatever it is. You know, everything's defined and surveyed and documented. And people want there to be something that comes out of the mysterious universe that gives us hope for something more, you know, rather than just being obsolescent human beings in the postmodern age. You know, all we're good for is consuming and devouring increasingly abstract things nowadays, like web pages and videos and popular culture. Bigfoot's something ancient, and no matter how many times people say it's just a joke or a legend, it's actually an ancient archetype of some kind, that appears in the earliest forms of human civilization. If you look at the Epic of Gilgamesh or the various other bizarre stories in ancient cultures, they all have their own versions of these large humanoid monsters or creatures or spirits that might take the form of such things. So I think that we all want something like that. Some people might just study like quantum physics or get religious or whatever, but there's a certain kind of person who wants like a connection with nature and outdoors experience. I think a lot of people long for the authenticity of a bygone age where you could go out in the woods and make your way. Of course, now everyone has Yeti coolers and thermal imagers and night vision, so it's not exactly like mountain man frontier lifestyle. But it's a way to feel that way. It's a good excuse to go camping and wear camouflage, and it's fun to be involved with Bigfoot. But even for people just who see it on TV, it's probably more interesting to watch than some of those other horrible shows, right? Like ghost hunting shows and all these horrible alien shows that have been coming out lately. Just, they're so bad. No matter how bad Finding Bigfoot might have been, there was always that feeling when they went into those town halls that these people might have just seen something for real. At the local level, a lot of people feel that they've seen a real Bigfoot out in the woods, and it's not a phantasm, a ghost or some bizarre dream state where you feel like you were abducted by alien beings or something. It's like you're out in the woods and you just see something, or you smell something, or you hear something, or you see tracks on the ground, and it's a down-to-earth mystery, I think you could say.
All right, the time has come for the final stop on our Grand Northwestern tour, and I am journeying into the belly of the beast because as we film this, it is a Friday the 13th, and I am headed to a haunted house held inside the one and only Winchester Mystery House. Now, it remains to be seen whether we will be able to get any film on site, but Gauntly. He strives to do his best for you. they've done it up right here at the Winchester Mystery House for Halloween. They don't care that it's mid-September, and me neither. Never let him say Gauntly doesn't know how to pick 'em. This is the place to be on a Friday the 13th, on a Halloween, whatever the case may be. Gauntly loves some blacklight painting, and Gauntly loves some spooky cocktails. This is a gravedigger. Fitting to wrap up our trip, to shovel it into the ground and shove off in the morning. Cheers from the Winchester Mystery House. Oh, I smell something sumptuous. I smell something in the spirit of the season.
Gauntly, you're back.
Yes.
And so soon.
Rejuvenated, full of spirit and spirits, and ready to share some Halloween festivities. So, I have, of course, prepared our annual batch of cast member jack-o'-lanterns, showcasing all our favorite crypt dwellers who have appeared on the program at least 2 times. I always like to branch out, always like to depict new cast members every year.
Beautiful.
So, yes, I've got Crustacea there from the Planet of the Lobster People. And of course, the one and only Professor Cosmos.
But to celebrate this momentous occasion,
thank you. Well, cheers to you. A very happy Halloween to all of you.
bit of a kick there.
Run my outfit. And as always, what's a nightmares?
Can you miss what you never have known? And can you ache for a place that was never your home? No misgivings or shame, like a moth to the flame. fizzle alone? Can you know who inhabits your skin? And can you trust that you won't blow away in the wind? And do you tether your hopes or let go of the ropes in the hope that you someday descend? Just follow the road. The blood in your veins like a track for the trains. The heart always aims for the place where you belong. Just follow it home. Though it may not agree with the path that you seek, sometimes you just need to stop searching and stand up and go. Just follow the road.